That's right, McMonagle and Lugauer. After a night of home runs and documentaries, here we are. Loogie, how we doing?
I'm doing good, bro. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm more curious about you. I'm hoping you're okay.
I'm fine.
Are you sure?
I am fine.
Well, because I know as a Met fan that you have two goals this year heading into the year. One, obviously, to win the World Series, and the other to have Pete Alonso win his third consecutive home run derby. And to fall short, I feel for you. It must have been tough watching that performance. Obviously, Julio Rodriguez just takes the world by storm, showing that he's a superstar. And unfortunately, despite just a brilliant effort, and it wasn't from lack of trying. I mean, the guy's deadlifting before. He's sitting there meditating in the hallways of Dodger Stadium in the in the underground tunnels. He did everything he could to try and win that, and I really feel bad for you because I know how much it meant to you guys and how much it meant to Pete Alonso. So I'm sorry.
Well,
I hope we can get through the show okay.
We'll be fine. Two things. Number one, love something like Pete Alonso loves the home run derby. We're not going to
does he love the home run derby.
I'm not going to allow Pete's name to be besmirched on the airways today because I saw a lot of it on Twitter with the meditating and the deadlifts.
I'm sorry.
Dude is into it. I'm sitting there on the couch last night feeling sorry for myself because I'm like, I don't take anything in life as seriously as this guy takes the home run derby doing deadlifts. And I'm sitting there eating chips on the couch.
You don't think it's a bit much? Like I was messing around with Evan before about saying, he loves the publicity. He loves to, try and get his name out there. I was just more messing with him. I think all of the great home run hitters and superstars, the same way I feel about the slam dunk contest. They should be out there trying to promote the sport. I applaud them. But don't you think he's taken it a bit far? If you remember last year, right? Last year, someone gets hurt. One of the people shagging balls gets hurt or hit or something, and they're literally helping this person off the field, and they cut right to Alonso, and he's dancing to the music. I mean, he's dancing to the music. That's fine. That's fun. Then he's deadlifting in full Met uniform right before you think you might need your legs? You think you might want to just relax a little bit? No, he's deadlifting. Then he realizes maybe the deadlifting was a mistake and let me calm down. And he's meditating with his eyes closed. I mean, the other guys are out there on the field. Yeah, they're into it. They're trying to take it seriously, but they're having fun with their friends. They're chatting with their family. He's inside like it's life or death. I'm sorry. I like him. We've met him. He's
a friend of the program.
He's kind of corny. He's a little bit of a cornball.
Oh, stop.
He's a little bit.
First of all, neither one of us, the only thing you and I have lifted in the last 20 years is our ass off a seat. So who am I to get on Pete Alonso? A guy wants to get a pump in before the home run derby. And if that's his, everybody has a method, right? We've talked about it on the air. Everybody has a show. Some people, when they start a show, they goof around. Summers used to go downstairs, repeaters. You yell into a mirror.
No,
I
that's
sit around
not
and
me.
goof off and build up the morale in the newsroom. That's what I do.
That was Adam
Everybody
the
has
Bull.
a method.
That was Adam the Bull. Adam the Bull used to scream into the mirror and splash water on his face.
So you pace around. Everybody
I'm
has a method. This happens to be Pete's method. The cameras happen to caught it, and that's what he does. This is how he gets himself psyched up. Yeah, they just happen to catch it.
Oh, okay.
The guy can't work out and meditate and do all the things he's got to do. First of all, another thing, too, is at least Pete Alonso has the guts to be in the home run derby because your two boys are too busy, apparently, to be in it. How about Stanton and Judge put themselves on the line and be in the actual home run derby?
He contemplated it. Stanton contemplated it.
He contemplated it. No guts. At least Alonso's got the guts to put himself out there. And then I got to hear from Yankee fans basically mocking him for meditating and working out.
It was a little, it was a little much.
It's not a little much.
It was a little much.
No, it's the way he gets prepared. I'm never going to get on somebody for the way they prepare to do battle.
I know. Listen, and he still had a great, couple rounds. He fell short he ended up not winning, obviously, Julio Rodriguez, but he put on the show of, they have that every once in a while where the winner, although Juan Soto to win it underneath all of the speculation of him getting traded, which we're going to get into in a second, but under all that speculation for him to go out there and win the contest, was kind of special. But really, there are those home run derbies where the Josh Hamilton we talked about yesterday on the show, when no one remembers Justin Morneau won it. You remember the show Hamilton put on Yankee Stadium. That Mark McGwire, I think, put on a show in Boston, even though he didn't win it. Like, you always remember the guys with the incredible performances, even if they fall short later in the rounds. And that was Julio Rodriguez yesterday. He was incredible. But Soto obviously comes through, wins it under, I wouldn't call it extra pressure or added pressure necessarily. No one cares if you win the home run derby, except Pete Alonso, of course. He cares deeply. But other than that, ultimately, it's not really pressure, but it is the idea of having to answer all the questions about where he's going and what he's going to do next and why he won't take $440 million from the Washington Nationals. how crazy do you have to be to turn down that kind of money despite the annual stuff and how much he would be making compared to some of his peers that he's clearly better than? Let's be honest, at 23, he's probably the best hitter in all of baseball and certainly owns the strike zone like no one else in baseball and has an on-base percentage over the last handful of years that really only approaches steroid Barry Bonds. Besides that, that's the only guy you can compare him with as far as owning the strike zone. And for under all that, to win the home run derby, I thought was special, but we have to get into the conversation because it's obviously where we are again today, and I can't believe it. I don't know if you've been listening to the radio. I was on last night filling in for Keith, and I cannot tell you how many calls Yankees and Met fans who want no part of Juan Soto. I don't understand it. I don't how you could look at this and with the Yankees, don't tell me they can't afford him. They can afford him. We'll get into it. But the idea that it doesn't make sense for either one of these teams to try and add a player like Juan Soto, why? Because you like some prospects or because you can't envision them being able to keep him and DeGrom and, Nimmo. Okay, so maybe you have to lose Nimmo. Maybe you have to trade McNeil. Maybe the Yankees have to get rid of Gleyber Torres. Or maybe the Yankees have to figure out a way to, lose some guys so they can afford both him and Judge. Nothing's easy. But when you can get someone who's 23 years old and on top of the sport, I cannot believe how many calls were just into the last show, how many I took last night who don't want Juan Soto. You are out of your mind if you don't move heaven and earth to bring a 23-year-old superstar to your team. Just doesn't make any sense.
No, we heard it yesterday with Craig and Evan. I could not believe how many calls I screened where Yankees and Met fans they don't want Juan Soto. Guys, prospects are like draft picks. You never know what's going to happen. Don't worry about it. You're talking about a guy in the prime of his career, and you're getting 3 cracks at it. If he leaves for L.A. in 3 years, who cares? If you get a World Series title, especially as a Met fan, we trade our left arm, and the Yankees and Mets are in win-now mode. You get Soto, you get 3 cracks at it, and if he leaves, he leaves. And if any of those prospects become great players, you live with it. You won't even think about it if you get a World Series championship.
Well, that's the one thing you're saying there about the 3 cracks. That's not a given. But I think I need it if I'm going to make the trade. If what John Heyman's reporting and all these guys are reporting, where they want the top 4 prospects in your organization, and they want a young, viable major league player, and they want possibly to take back the Corbin contract, that's a massive haul. Well worth it for Juan Soto. I'm fully on board with that. If it's going to take, as a Yankee fan, let me just talk Yankee fan. If it's going to take Volpe and Dominguez and Peraza and Clark Schmidt or the other top pitching prospect and Gleyber Torres and take back Corbin, I still do it. But I only do it if it's now. I think it's imperative. I heard Brandon and Tiki talking about it. I've heard other people mention it's a hard thing to put together in 2 weeks. How are you going to put this together in 2 weeks? This is a kind of an off-season kind of trade, and typically these guys are. Because this is a franchise changer for both teams. The Yankees bring them in, it changes who the Yankees are. It certainly changes who the Washington Nationals are. So when you make not just like pairing off guys who are going to be at the end of their contract, who at the tail end of their career, the typical, kind of deadline deals, those are pieces that don't affect the core of your team for the most part. When you get deals like this, typically it is an off-season thing because you're trying to put together a team moving forward for the whole year. But if I don't get the 3rd crack, and I like the 3rd crack, if I don't get 3 cracks at this, I'm not giving them that. They got one opportunity. I need this team, especially our 2 teams right now. Let's be fair. Right now, if you got a healthy DeGrom coming back, you could argue that you have the best 2 teams in baseball right here in New York. The Yankees have 64 wins. They found, Carpenter off the scrap heap who's become
he's one of the hottest hitters in baseball right now.
The starting rotation has kind of faltered. Hopefully this break helps them, but they've been terrific all year. Both back ends of the bullpen are arguably the 2 best in baseball. You are looking at the 2 best teams, arguably, in Major League Baseball. And I am not making any kind of deal unless I am giving this team this year a chance to win a championship with Juan Soto. So you could forget it in 2 weeks. I think it's a dead conversation to me. I don't think it's something I'm really concerned about in the offseason. If I'm a Yankee fan, if you're a Met fan, I'm on to signing Judge. That's my goal. Maybe I'll trade for Soto if it pops up. I'll have the conversations. But I am in a absolute dead heat right now to get it done before this deadline. It's imperative to me. After the deadline passes and Juan Soto's not a Yankee or a Met or he hasn't been traded, to me, I don't care anymore. I'm not even going to focus on it for next year. Let the St. Louis Cardinals or whoever else they'll tell you have prospects and let them go do that then and reshape their team. I'm looking to add it right now because I want the 3rd crack. It's imperative.
And listen, I don't think the Nationals are dumb enough to trade Juan Soto in the division. But if you're the Yankees, you cannot allow the Mets to swoop in here and get Juan Soto because there is that narrative. Are you shaking your head?
Yes.
The Yankees, you just said it now. Bottom line is, bro, you can't beat the Astros in the postseason.
Oh,
that's the reality. Juan Soto could put you over the top because you've had guys that haven't been able to get the big hit. Right. Now you bring in a guy like Soto who has shown he can get the big hit.
Yeah.
If you allow the Mets to come in there and convince, because you're going to have to convince the Nationals to trade in the division, and you have to sell that to the fans. Well, remember that little brother? Yeah, he got Juan Soto at 23, and guess what? He's going to be with the Mets hopefully for 10, 15 years.
Why are you so hung up on Yankees-Mets?
Because it's the reality
He's never played for the Yankees. Juan Soto is not a Yankee, never been a Yankee.
But you got outbid by the Mets for a transitional, for a great player at 23 years old. Generational. Yeah. You got outbid.
Okay.
When does that happen?
A lot lately.
No.
They got outbid for Bryce Harper. They got outbid for Manny Machado. They've been outbid before.
Bro,
never by the Mets, okay.
And I get it's in the division, but when you blew that 3-0 lead to the Red Sox, it changed the course of history.
In 2004?
It changed the course of history.
Yeah?
So what you have, the reality of this town is that it's the Yankees are here, and the Mets are way down here. And all of a sudden, that perception changes if the Mets get Juan Soto. That's the reality.
I don't agree with you.
But that's the reality, Chris.
If the Yankees don't get Soto, and then or whoever gets him, Mets, whatever, but then Judge signs with the Mets, I'll give you. Judge is the face of the Yankees right now. He's on pace to tie Maris's home run record. He is the face of the Yankees. He's about to hopefully win the MVP, take him into this great season, into the postseason. If he decides not to sign with the Yankees and doesn't go home to California or San Francisco, wherever the rumors are, and he signs with the Mets, I'll grant you that is a major shift in dynamic between Mets and Yankees. If the Mets pull off a trade that the Yankees couldn't pull off,
but the Yankees
they signed Max Scherzer. The Yankees got outbid for Max Scherzer. Why didn't that change the dynamic?
But the Yankees can pull it off. And I
Yankees
think
could have signed Max Scherzer.
But as a perspective and from Yankee fans, it's like, why not go get Juan Soto?
Listen, now you're having two different arguments.
But if you don't go get him, it feels like Brian Cashman and the Yankees didn't do enough to get Juan Soto.
That's going to feel the same way no matter where he goes.
No way.
If he goes to St. Louis, I'm going to be like, why the hell didn't the Yankees go do this?
If Juan Soto's playing in Queens, Yankee fans are going to be bothered by that. It doesn't matter. You had a chance to get him. You are in the running.
I completely agree.
Let's just say realistically,
this has nothing to do with Yankees Mets.
Dodgers, Cardinals, couple teams, right? And the Mets outbid you for Juan Soto. That would be a major problem for the Yankee fans.
I disagree. It won't be for this Yankee fan, and it's not for the Yankees. Sign away Aaron Judge. Now we're talking. Win a trade or put together a better package than the Yankees were willing. They spent more money on Max Scherzer. They've done all kinds of things. It's not just the Yankees could have used a shortstop when they traded for Lindor. I didn't go, oh my God. How did the Yankees not get Lindor and the Mets got him? This is a whole change in dynamic. They just got a new owner. Now they're bringing in the best shortstop in the game, possibly. They paid him $340 million. Why didn't the Yankees do this? Who do the Yankees have at shortstop right now? Gleyber Torres, who can't even play the position, and instead they let the Mets swoop in? Why didn't that change the dynamic? Why all of a sudden is Juan Soto the dynamic change?
Because I don't think you speak for all Yankee fans. I think you, in a lot of ways, are a Yankee apologist. I've said that. Evan said that. It's the truth. I think they send you a Christmas card at the end of the year.
I wish they would.
So I think that in a lot of ways, you're the apologist. But the regular day in, day out, blue collar guy, Yankee fan that doesn't do the deep dive and host radio shows like you do will be bothered by that because the perception is Steve Cohen and the Mets got Juan Soto and we didn't.
Well, if that happens, not only will it be perception, it will be fact, okay? So I grant you, it will be fact that he went to the Mets instead of the Yankees.
The perception that the Mets are now the big brother. The reality.
Okay. I don't agree with that at all.
You won't take calls all weekend long from Yankee fans
I'm
that
about
are
to take calls
off.
that either team trading for him is stupid.
Well, that we agree on.
Should I
That's
make
ridiculous.
my opinion on what the callers say all the time? Come on.
So what are we judging it off of then?
We're judging it off of, I don't know, the feeling of the entire city. You're telling me most Yankee fans are going to feel like the dynamic has changed because they went out and got Juan Soto and the Yankees didn't?
Absolutely. Absolutely,
I totally
dude.
do. If they sign Aaron Judge, then they're taking away the face of the Yankees to go play for the Mets. That's one thing. Juan Soto has nothing to do with the Yankees. Nothing.
He has absolutely everything to do with it because to me, he's the missing piece, and I think Yankee fans will view it that way. Oh, they haven't viewed that way. They should view it that way because he's a guy that puts over the top.
the missing piece for the 18 Red Sox. They can go out and get someone and still win. They don't need Juan Soto to win. I want him because he's clearly the best player available, and you do it for a 23-year-old superstar. I'm all on board. Let's make this clear. Trade Dominguez, trade Volpe, trade Peraza, trade Gleyber Torres. Yep. Trade them all. Take on Corbin's contract. Do it all. I'm 100% on board with it. But if the Mets do that better than the Yankees do, I'll be pissed at the Yankees for not going that extra mile necessarily if we find out, well, Volpe wasn't included in the deal or whatever the snag was. I'll probably be pissed at the snag. But I'm not going to go, would you look at this?
But just said what you just said.
We wake up today in a whole new world where the Mets are on top and the Yankees are on the bottom. No, I won't feel that way at all.
You just said if the Mets do something better than the Yankees.
Yes.
That's it. Period. Stop.
The Mets have
did something better than the
pitching
Yankees.
far better than the Yankees for generations.
Okay, sure.
It's true.
Sure.
What do you mean, sure?
We're not talking about developing young pitchers. We're talking about
you've got DeGrom.
We
and
are
Scherzer.
vying for the prom queen here in Juan Soto, and we get her, and you don't. That's it. Don't worry about the prospects. Don't worry about if he played for the Yankees. Obviously, if we get Aaron Judge, again, that's a seismic shift for sure.
That's a shift.
And that is the monster one, no doubt about it, because that's your guy.
Of course.
But the bottom line is Juan Soto is out there for the taking. And you now convince the Nationals to trade him in the division and send to the Bronx. Okay. That's a huge deal.
So let me ask you. But the Mets, you won't feel the same. So as a Met fan, it won't bother you as much if the Yankees get him. Well, they're the Yankees.
No, expect it.
You have a complex, sir.
You think?
You have a major complex.
I know that.
No. Now it's really starting. It's one thing just to have your thing about the Yankees. There'll never be peace. I don't trust the closer, all that. Now it's literally, if the Mets do good, it will be a shock to the solar plexus of everyone in the city. And if the Yankees do good,
I'm glad
it's another day.
I'm glad you're finally coming around.
Wow.
That's the reality.
No,
that's been my reality for 36 years, Chris.
You need help.
I don't need help.
No, you see, this is where
I'm in it now. It's too far gone.
You also have this unusual thing where you recognize your problem. Call it a problem, shape it, realize, here's my problem right here in front of my face. And then when I say, well, you need to help that problem, no. It's my problem. I'm going to hold it as tight as I possibly could and squeeze the problem to death.
It's funny, dude.
How about you recognize you have a problem and let it go? This would mean nothing to the Yankee-Met dynamic. Nothing. It means the Mets did a hell of a job to bring in one of the best players in baseball. That's what it would mean. And it would mean the same thing for the Yankees. It's not going to kill the Mets if the Yankees get Juan Soto. It's not going to kill the Yankees if the Mets get Juan Soto. This has nothing to do with either team other than they're both going for the same player.
As I was in and out of naps during that Snooze Fest Jeter documentary last night, and they were sort of setting the table for that Yankee dynasty, all those emotions of growing up and being a young kid in that era started to come back. So that's where this all started. Being young, seeing that the Yankees always won, always got the player, and the Mets always blew it in the big spot. That's where this complex is from. And I've said it on the air. I understand that it's a different era. It's not the Wilpons anymore. We have Steve Cohen. He went out and made a lot of moves there. Year 2 of the Cohen era has been great. It's been great. But that complex is still going to be there until they win the World Series. It's still going to be
Doesn't Juan Soto eliminate the complex? If Juan Soto goes to the Mets, the way you're talking is it should eliminate your complex. That now it's completely changed. The Mets went after a big player. The Yankees went after the big player. The Mets finished on top. So there you go. Everything's great. Diaz is going to close the game in the 9th.
Sure.
The Mets are going to be the new face of New York City. They're going to win. They're going to beat the Yankees. They're going to beat the Braves. They're going to tackle all demons in 1 year because now it's changed. Juan Soto's a Met.
I think Met fans will feel that way. I think if they get Juan Soto, they will feel like they are the top dog, not only in this town, but in baseball. Because they went out and got arguably the best player in the game and certainly going to be one of the best players over the next 5-10 years.
I think you can make the case, to get back to reality here for a second and things that actually mean something and that are tangible.
Please.
Okay. If I think you could argue that either team, Met or Yankee, get Juan Soto, they are the prohibitive favorite to win the World Series.
I totally agree.
I think either team gets him. I think it's a prohibitive favorite, that if the Yankees get him, they are the clear-cut favorite to win the World Series. I think if the Mets get him, and I'll throw in the caveat of DeGrom coming back and being healthy.
Sure.
If DeGrom comes back and has 4 or 5 starts and he looks healthy and he's dominating the way he did, or at least even close to the way he did, and the Mets have Juan Soto, they will be the clear-cut favorite not only to win the National League pennant, but to be the World Series champion. That's the kind of swing. So if you want to talk about that Juan Soto coming to the Mets that leads to championships, starts to crack away at the dynamic you're talking about, that's a discussion we can have. But just the idea of them making a trade that the Yankees didn't make is not going to change the dynamic between these two teams and who they are in the city. You will still think, you know what you will say? Juan Soto will go 0 for 15.
He'll get hurt.
He'll go 0 for 15 in the World Series, and the Yankees will beat us. That's what you're going to say until the Mets win. Now, this would be a move that would help them win, but just cut it out. Not everything has to be this never-peace Yankee-Met dynamic. Both guys are going for the player, no doubt, and it fits both teams like a glove. He would be perfect for both teams, and I think both teams should be had after him. I don't know if they'd be willing to trade inside the division. It is the same division. They are competing for a division title. Next year, the schedule will change. It won't be 19 times a year that you're going to have to see him, and actually compete against him. But ultimately, it's still your division. You're battling for a division title. I doubt very much they'd like to do that. But there is a world where they could provide the best package. Would you trade McNeil? Would you throw in pieces like that?
I think you have to consider anything that's not bolted down to get this guy. And I know people love Jeff. I love Jeff, and he's been great this year. But you have to at least, Metfans, you have to at least consider it. This is Juan Soto we're talking about. You have to consider it. And I understand not taking a guy like Jeff and bringing him out of here and bringing in a guy like Juan Soto. You don't want to break up the mix here. But you said it. If the Mets get Juan Soto, they are the favorite. And I'll throw you this one. Now they have the Yankee pressure. Because if DeGrom's back healthy, Scherzer, Alonso, Soto, that is the best team in baseball. And if you don't win the World Series, that is a colossal failure.
Yeah.
Colossal.
Of course.
So all the pressure in the world right now. If they don't get Soto, there's pressure. But if Juan Soto is inserted in the middle of this order and Jacob DeGrom somehow, some way comes back and is healthy, is able to pitch the rest of the season in the postseason like Jacob DeGrom, all the pressure in the world is on them. And if they don't win, it'll be like the worst disaster in history of the Mets because it's the best roster they've had.
No question. They will be the favorites to win, and if they don't, their expectations will be as high as the Yankees. Maybe that dynamic will change.
Yes.
It'll be World Series or bust, very much like the Yankee fan. But seriously, talk to someone. Think about it.
Well,
Just at least think about it.
This is therapy. This is my therapy on the radio. I'll have people yelling at me. Twitter's probably yelling at me and all that stuff. So this is the therapy. And yes, it is a sickness. It's bad. It's bad.
The first thing is realizing you have a problem.
Which I do. I just don't know how to tackle the problem. I almost like the problem.
You do.
Does that make sense? I love living in that world of the problem.
What part of when I said that you hold on to it and cling to it with your fingernails, did you not think I meant you like the problem?
I always say this. With me and Yankee fans, it's personal. And there will never, ever be peace.